Now out in cinemas is the long-awaited sequel to the 1988 classic Beetlejuice, titled Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, with Tim Burton returning behind the camera to direct along with the core cast members from the original with Michael Keaton, Winona Ryder and Catherine O'Hara. The production cost in the region of $100 million, and so far the film has generally been received well by the critics. For years there had been rumblings and talks of a sequel, but nothing really got off the ground. After the success of Beetlejuice in 1988, a sequel was fast-tracked by the Geffen Film Company, with one titled Beetlejuice in Love, penned by screenwriter Warren Scarron, who did a heavy rewrite on the first film's script, and Tim Burton hired Jonathan Gems to write another potential Beetlejuice sequel titled Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian. Tim thought it would be funny to match the surfing backdrop of a beach movie with some sort of German expressionism, because they are totally wrong together. But it failed to move forward as Burton and Keaton became occupied with Batman Returns. Come the mid-90s, Warner Brothers approached Kevin Smith in 1996 to rewrite a bunch of scripts, and Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian was put forward along with a script for a new Superman movie. Kevin was intrigued by Superman and less thrilled about a sequel to Beetlejuice, famously saying,
"Really, didn't we say all we needed to say with the first Beetlejuice? Must we go tropical?"
Tim Burton had considered several other sequel ideas as well over the years, but his career would shift away from Beetlejuice and even Batman to other projects, with the movie landscape in recent years focusing on legacy sequels, and with the success of Wednesday on Netflix, Burton felt it was the right time to return to Beetlejuice. For the film story, we find Lydia Dietz now hosting a supernatural talk show called Ghost House due to her ability to see the dead. The show is produced by her boyfriend Rory, played by Justin Theroux. Lydia starts seeing visions of Beetlejuice and starts freaking out. Delia, Lydia's stepmother, shares the sad news about the death of her father Charles. En route to Winter River for the funeral service, Lydia and Delia pick up Lydia's estranged daughter, Astrid, played by Jenna Ortega, from boarding school. Following the funeral service, Rory proposes to Lydia, which she reluctantly accepts. Astrid is upset and runs away and encounters a guy called Jeremy. On Halloween, Astrid learns that Jeremy is a ghost seeking her help to restore his life. He promises Astrid that she can reunite with her dead father, Richard, if she assists him. The two open the door to the afterlife. Lydia discovers Jeremy's past and panics. She needs to save her daughter and calls on Beetlejuice to help her. Beetlejuice agrees but demands that Lydia marry him, allowing him to stay in the mortal world and evade his vengeful ex-wife Dolores, played by Monica Bellucci, in the afterlife. I had reviewed the original film a few years ago on my channel, and it's still a great movie that's very funny, had a unique visual style for the time, fantastic performances, and one of Tim Burton's best films. Burton always works better on smaller ideas that benefit from his unique style, like Edward Scissorhands, Ed Wood, and Big Eyes for example. His massive productions with the likes of The Planet of the Apes, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Alice in Wonderland, and Dumbo just didn't really work for me and for many others who loved Tim's work in the 90s. He seemed to lose his way for a large number of films he has directed. Something was missing that made his films interesting. He became more style over substance. He seemed more interested in the look of his movies than the actual story. But with Beetlejuice 2, it certainly feels like a return to form. This sequel, in my eyes, demonstrates what made Burton so fascinating as a filmmaker. Firstly, the film does look fantastic. A wonderful mix of blues and greens bringing over that colour palette of the original for the afterlife, which has now become a bigger world. It makes use of animatronics, miniatures and stop motion, and of course CGI, to make the afterlife seem so inventive. It does feel like a lot of effort and time was put into making the effects work for each scene. It doesn't have this attitude of doing everything within the computer. A lot of thought has gone into using the best methods for each shot, so you end up with a great mix of different types of visual and special effects. Beetlejuice at its core is a dark comedy, and the original excelled with those comedic moments, and the sequel is certainly very funny, though the audience I saw it with barely laughed. So I don't think some of the humour is going to work for everyone, but for me I found it hilarious and the final act was brilliant. I don't think the gags work as well as the original, as in the sequel they're a bit more spaced out between each moment, but that's just my personal opinion. It's very subjective on what people find funny. All the performances from the cast are great. Everyone gets their moment to shine, with Catherine O'Hara especially being the standout character for me. She was brilliant in the first film and knows again what she is doing and delivers 100%. Winona Ryder is playing more of a fragile character due to her experience with seeing ghosts and is central to the story. They could have easily shifted focus to Jenna Ortega due to her popularity thanks to Wednesday, but they don't forget about Lydia and how important she was to the original and keep her as a main character. Michael Keaton, thanks to the makeup, looks the same as he did in 1988. Thankfully he gets more screen time, As a kid, I always thought Beetlejuice felt like a secondary character in his own movie. It does make sense as to why, but the marketing and how it was sold was a little misleading. Keaton is always a joy to see and is clearly having a blast playing Beetlejuice, and gets his moments to steal the scenes with his over-the-top performance. Despite the film's strengths with its visuals, its solid cast and humour, the script does have some problems. They aren't too much of an issue to write it off as a so-so sequel, but there is clearly too many subplots happening all at once, as the writers try to give every character a bit of story. The original film had a simple plot that focused on two families, the Dietz and the Maitlands, and Beetlejuice is deployed to scare off the Dietz. That's it in a nutshell. The sequel crams too much into the script and would have benefited from being streamlined. Beetlejuice's ex-wife, to be honest, doesn't need to be in it. They could have easily done another draft of the script to not include her, because she doesn't have much screen time and feels shortchanged by the end. The end result is that you have a busy script that neatly ties up by the end and is bloody funny for the final act, but you feel this could have been a lot more straightforward and improved the film. But saying that, I still really enjoyed it. Composer Danny Elfman returns to provide the score. Again, he uses the original themes and mixes them up a bit to play them out in a fresh new way. The soundtrack album they have put out only includes the opening and end themes composed by Elfman, and the rest is all licensed music from the Bee Gees, Donna Summer, Richard Marx and Tess Parks. These selected songs work really well within the film. Some are deployed for comedy, but they don't feel out of place, if you know what I mean. Elfman's score didn't quite grab my attention as the original, though to be fair, I need to give it a proper listen when they eventually release it as a standalone album, as the current one only features 2 tracks. It was nice to see the film had a proper opening credit crawl. Once again we see the town as the camera whizzes past houses, with the Beetlejuice theme in its full glory played out. It's clear everyone involved in this production is having a great time. It's obvious that a lot of love and care has gone into the film. That energy and enthusiasm comes across on screen. So despite the script issues I've highlighted, I still had a fun time watching it. There is a lot of nostalgia there for me, but it didn't feel like a half-baked sequel that ends up retreading ideas from the original. The writers brought a lot of new stuff to the table, but perhaps they threw in too many ideas that results in a bit of an overstuffed script. If you grew up with the original film and have a lot of fondness for it, then I'm certain you will have a great time watching this. It's good to see Tim Burton back in his comfort zone and expanding upon his original vision, and working with Michael Keaton again, they make for a great team. It's just a shame they left it so long to make a sequel. I suppose it was difficult to pursue that idea when the original tied up everything neatly by the end. Thankfully Tim and the writers had some good ideas up their sleeve to warrant bringing back Beetlejuice. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to click the like button and hit the bell to be notified of my latest reviews. Big thanks to my patrons and YouTube members for supporting the channel. If you want to get involved and gain access to exclusive videos and take part in Q&As, follow the link below.